Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, as always, joined by Joe Rossinello. And once more, let us go into the breach. Let's jump right into it because Salih Hudayar is joining us. Those of you who are fans of the front line with Joe and Joe, you know that Salih has been on our show a number of times discussing very important topics. Now, just a brief introduction, Salih Hudayar was elected as the Prime Minister of the East Turkistan government in exile on November 11th, 2019. A little background, Mr. Hudayar was born to a Uyghur business family in Atush, East Turkistan. He studied international studies and politics at the University of Oklahoma and was a member of the Army National Guard from 2011 to 2013. He's currently pursuing a master's in national security from the American Military University. He and his family fled to the United States, where they became political refugees back in 2000. He did grow up, as I mentioned, in Oklahoma. And despite being so young, he began to spread awareness about East Turkestan and the situation there. Salih Hudayar, as always, welcome back to the front line with Joe and Joe, our brother.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. So now, obviously, you know, there's a pretty strong statement coming out. The Uyghur community is strongly condemning Tesla CEO Elon Musk for meeting with the Chinese foreign minister about expansion of Tesla in China. And obviously you have a problem with that. So why don't you fill in our audience, fill in the gaps a little bit. Tell us what's going on exactly.
Yes, last week, Elon Musk visited, in fact, last Monday or Tuesday, he visited China. He met with senior Chinese leaders, including China's foreign minister. And not only did he, talk about expanding Tesla's presence in China, but also, backed against, opposing the any potential decoupling with China. And this is quite detrimental for us, given the fact that in East Turkestan, millions of our people are being used as slave labor, as forced labor. We're still being held in concentration camps and prisons. We're still facing a wholesale genocide. And as we all know, what does Tesla need? Batteries for its car components. And much of the battery production, the lithium that is used to produce, manufacture batteries, unfortunately originates from East Turkestan. The day after Tesla met with China's foreign minister, the news broke out that Chinese companies were going to further invest $2 billion in mining and extracting lithium in East Turkestan. And Tesla's number one supporter and supplier is a company called Cattle, or the Catalytical. If I don't have the correct extension of the name, but it's a Chinese car battery manufacturer called Cattle, and they are the leading investor in that project to expand lithium mining and production in East Turkestan. And so what this will mean is that you will continue to see more and more Uyghurs being used as slave labor, if not, forced labor, if not slave labor, to extract, lithium, which is then used for Tesla to, benefit. Essentially, Tesla is benefiting off of the genocide and slave labor of our people, and this is why we condemn this.
I don't understand how this seems to just nobody. Joe was talking to me earlier before you came on. Salih Hudayar is joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe, saying nobody's talking about this. Not like I don't understand how this is allowed. Now us, we're Catholic guys, right? Our heart goes out to these people who are Muslim. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right. The Uyghur community is Muslim because they're being enslaved, and that we get lectured by Europe and all these people, all these elites all the time about the injustices in the world. This injustice is staring them right in the face. And I just don't get it. Joe Rossinello.
Well, you hear, just to piggyback off what you say, you hear the phrase "never again." Well, never again is happening right now. And you have companies, Apple, Hollywood, the NBA, that make a ton of money with China. But now you have a company, and they clearly are complicit because they're using slave labor. I could remember years back when Michael Jordan had his sneakers, and it came out, the news came out that basically, in Malaysia, the Nike was using labor. They're paying people probably like $2 a day to make sneakers. But this is slave labor, not a peep, not a peep. And they are complicit. No one's saying a word. Your comments.
Well, this is also because of the lack of, legislation by governments prohibiting this type of behavior. Unfortunately, yes, there is, a ban on importing goods that, with the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, which bans goods that are made from forced or slave labor in East Turkestan. However, what the Chinese government is doing is evading it by, relocating Uyghurs out of East Turkestan into prisons and labor camps inside China, where they continue to be used as slave labor. And these products are still ending up in the United States because, it's still, they've been able to bypass the barrier, meaning that it's not made in East Turkestan, it's made in China. It's made outside of the East Turkestan region. So this is what's allowing, China to evade this. And the fact that, our companies, like, I had a great respect for Elon Musk. I thought he was, one of the, he was one of the more knowledgeable people, one of the more, moralistic people in terms of business people out there. But seeing what he did, it's shameless. It's not that he doesn't know what's happening. He knows very well what's happening in East Turkestan. He knows very well what the Chinese government is doing. Yet, for temporary profit, he's essentially letting the Chinese government enslave Uyghurs and other Turkic people so that he can have his car batteries or lithium batteries for his Teslas that he can sell and make billions.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. Joe and I have given Elon Musk a lot of credit on this show. We value him taking over Twitter. Joe and I are increasing our presence on Twitter because now it's ostensibly more of a free speech platform. We could say things that you might get shut down for on YouTube and Facebook. But yeah, my respect, and I'm sure I speak for Joe, is if he doesn't resolve this, okay, if he doesn't come out with a statement and a strong one saying I was wrong, okay, the respect meter is going to go way down for Elon Musk. Okay. And I don't know if he's going to be able to recover from that, because that was going to be my next question. How has the response been to your protests over this? Okay. And the Uyghur community? Have you gotten a let's call it a positive response from those who need to be responding to this?
Unfortunately not, because this is just happening on an industry-wide and even a government-wide scale. Even our current administration, they are going out of their way to appease China. China's saying that the United States is their biggest enemy. They've, clearly been raising up their propaganda to attack the United States at all levels. They've been engaging in unrestricted warfare, shipping fentanyl into the United States, drugging Americans and killing and destroying American lives. Yet our government, this administration, is doing nothing. You have thousands of, military-age Chinese men who are coming into the United States, by crossing the border from Mexico. Still nothing's being done. And there's recent videos in which some of these, military-age men end up in, San Francisco and Los Angeles, and they're, raising up the Chinese flag and, giving, a PLA-style military salute. And yet our government is still doing nothing. The government, this current administration, there were supposed to be new sanctions on Chinese officials for the ongoing genocide. They've been withholding it for the past year. They are not even meeting with, us to, hear out our concerns. So when the government isn't doing anything, corporations are like, okay, well, if our government doesn't care, if I can get away with this, why not?
Well, and that's exactly what they're doing. Like you said, for temporary profit. That's exactly what they're doing. And their attitude is, that's right. You're not doing anything about it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. I think we need what you're doing, and what I would call it is we need to shame them into changing their views. That's what we need to say, for shame that you go ahead and for the name of profits. And that goes, like I said, Joe mentioned, that goes for all of them. It's time we start shaming the NBA. It's the time we start shaming Apple and all these companies that do business in China. They are a brutal communist dictatorship. That's what we have to keep saying. They're not our friend. They don't care about human rights. All right. Because at the end of the day, they're Marxists. They're communists. They don't care about human dignity or any of it. That was my little rant. Joe Resinello.
Prime Minister, you recently had a protest at the White House. It was on June 4th. I have to ask you, clearly you're trying to bring awareness to the genocide for your people. Tell us about that event, but specifically tell us who covered it. I want to know what mainstream media outlets were there.
Unfortunately, there weren't any. That's the sad reality of our case. Many governments or many media doesn't even care. They won't cover it again because they're like, if this is not something that governments care about, why should we report about it? And many of these media outlets also have, been in many ways co-opted by China, or at least influenced or have business interests connected to China. So China, buys a lot of ads from these business media outlets, or China will be like, okay, if you cover this issue, I'm not going to let you, I'm not going to give you press credentials to where you can report about stuff in China. So this type of things prevent them from reporting and covering these issues, which is very, sad, because these are things that people across the world need to know about. These are important things. This is not about one or two people. This is about tens of millions of people suffering genocide in the 21st century.
Yeah. Salih Hudayar is joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello. We are way in the breach. Joe, we probably have time for one more question. Where do you want to go?
Well, I basically just want to piggyback off what he was just saying. It seems to me that Western countries, the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, they're selective when they use the term human rights. They should qualify it. This, to me, sounds like a human rights violation. Sorry, it does. But why don't they care? Because it doesn't benefit them. In fact, if they do make a statement, it could hurt them because China is powerful. There is business to do in China, and it could hurt that business. So we will selectively not say anything. Is that any different than what took place in Germany? Is that any different than what took place during the Russian occupation, whereby people were basically thrown into gulags? It's the same thing. The world did nothing, zero. And here we are, to your point, in 2023, people are being enslaved. I heard a statistic, this is the UN, that 50 million people are slaves. Many of them are sex slaves today. Some of these slaves are the people you're talking about right now, and no one's saying a word because it's not convenient. And shame on the UN, shame on the West. Your comments.
Yes, this is the tragic reality. Not only is it about human rights issues or violations that they're ignoring, but they're also ignoring the very, security threats that China poses to America and their own, Western democracy, to Western national interest and security. For example, China is at war with the United States. It's been at war with the United States for quite a while, actually. And we're not recognizing that. They're engaging in unrestricted warfare, everything short of actual conventional warfare. They're attacking, American society with drugs. They're attacking American society by co-opting, policymakers, officials. They're corrupting American society, by influencing America from both within and without. And while we're doing business with China, I'm all about business. I come from a business family myself. It's okay to do business. Business is great, but there has to be, we shouldn't put our security interests, we shouldn't put our humanitarian interests before our business interests. For temporary gains, we're ultimately selling out our own country's future. Every time we, Tesla does business with China, Elon Musk is like, okay, I'm doing business with China. I'm making money. Yeah, you're making money at the same time. You're giving money to the Chinese government. Every part of, every a certain percentage of the taxes that you pay is being used to fuel Chinese military buildup. And that military buildup is clearly aimed at the United States. They don't even shy about it anymore. This isn't 20 years ago where they're like, oh, we're going to bide our time and, wait when we become powerful. China has now reached to a point where it feels itself powerful, to where it is openly making clear threats against the United States. And there's nothing being done, which is, again, because both our government is failing to act adequately, and this is because our government has been deeply influenced by multinational corporations, to where instead of fighting for the national interest, we're fighting for the corporate interest.
Yeah. Let's hope, Salih Dyer, let's hope Elon Musk gets the message. I like to think a little bit more highly of him. Like I said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for the moment. But if he doesn't respond in a positive way and continues, then yeah, we're going to have to continue to shame him as best we could. He's the richest man in the world. He does not have to do this, not in the name of profits or anything else. In fact, I thought he's been fairly strong lately. He should be coming out, not only repent of this, but he should also come out and obviously bring more light to this situation. So not only should he back Tesla out of this deal, doing any deals with China, he should also use his platform to point out those things that the Chinese government are doing to the Uyghur community. Salih Dyer, as always. Now, real quick, what can we do? Joe and I are trying to do our part. Okay. We've always told you can come on our show. We'll blast this out on social media. We'll try to get as much recognition. Tell our audience, what would you recommend? What could we do? What would you say?
Well, everything that, all of us use social media, even if it's one tweet a day or one post a day, we need to raise, more awareness about China's ongoing genocide in East Turkestan. We need to, take at least 5 minutes of our day to either write an email or give a call to our policymakers and urge them to enact policies and press the government to take meaningful action against this. We need to, boycott some of these companies that are proliferating, that are, supporting, that are complicit in this genocide. We need to use everything in our power to make meaningful change. And I'm positive that we can. If the people, if we vote, we can make changes through our votes. We can make changes through the money that we spend. If we don't, for example, with recently you saw what the Bud Light, how that campaign worked, because of the whole issue of trying to genderify even alcohol, bringing this debate into even the drinking of alcohol. And many great Americans opposed that, and they said, no, we're not gonna stick, we're not gonna sit silent to this. We're gonna call a boycott on this. And that tanked Bud Light. Even with Target, they're losing, to where they are being forced to either, okay, are we going to listen to our consumers, or are we going to listen to whoever's giving us these ideas?
I guess we know the answer to that. Well, we're going to do what we can. Sally, I will tell you this, okay? This isn't going to come as a shock. Guys like us have been called deplorable in recent memory for holding, let's say, certain political, cultural, religious views, okay? There is nothing more deplorable than those same people that do that not saying anything about this genocide, about this atrocity. And we're going to try to help as best we could to help you out. Salih Dyer, thanks as always for coming on the show. We'll make sure, like I said, we blast this out over social media, and we'll try to create some awareness and raise people's consciousness when it comes to this issue.
Thank you, and God bless you as always.
God bless you, brother. We'll talk soon. Thank you for joining us here at the Front Line with Joe and Joe. When you see this video, please share it and tag Elon Musk when you share it on Twitter. This way we can point the finger at him and say, Elon, you got to back out of this.
Absolutely.
See you guys later.
Thank you.